Greetings, everyone. How's everyone doing today? I
Good,
am
man.
Addis. Good, good. I'm Addison Pollock. I'm not the legislative director, but I am I am here with two wonderful guests. The legislative director. Hey, Amber, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Awesome. I'm good. I'm good. And my other guest, not the legislative director, Mr. Madla Moyo.
Hey, Addison, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for being here today. Filling in for Jason on season 4, episode 2. Feeling good. I feel really good about where we are in session so far. Amber's doing a great job, and our legislative team are doing a great job, and we're all really looking forward to what comes out of this session. So don't want to waste too much time. Let's just get right into it. Amber, what did where are we in the session so far? What did this week look like? What do we have to look forward to?
Absolutely. I appreciate that we're just getting down to it because we've got a lot to cover in a short period of time. So really fast, this was deadline week. The House of Representatives had their third reading deadline on Monday, and the Senate had their third reading deadline on Tuesday. So basically, what does that mean? We have reached the halfway point of session where all of the House bills that have made it through the process now go to the Senate and go through the same exact process. And all of the Senate bills that went through the process and made it out go to the House to go through the exact same process. So they took a little bit of a hiatus. So they're all back in their districts for the rest of the week. And then next week, we will start all over again with committees and bills moving through both sides of the chamber.
All right. It's like rewinding and going all the way to the beginning of the movie, watching it over again.
It's like Groundhog Day, right?
Exactly. But we have fewer bills to focus on now, right?
Yes, that is correct. Anything that did not make it past third reading is now technically considered dead.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well,
I just
yeah.
want to know,
Hey, Madla.
can they find a better term than dead? I always cringe just a little bit when Amber
It's a little
explains
morbid.
the process, and I'm just like, why do we got to use the word dead? So, Indiana State Legislature, come on, guys, let's find a better, different way. Didn't make it. I don't know.
Did not pass, maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll take it.
All right, I'll take it. Thank you. Sorry, Amber.
No, that's a great point. Especially during the times that we're in.
Yeah.
Definitely. Not the best word, but we'll say these bills didn't pass, and now we have some bills that passed the chamber, and now we're focusing on those. So one of those bills, Amber, is the House Bill 1001, which is the state budget bill. We want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Thank you, Addison. So House Bill 1001 is the state budget bill, and it did make it out of the House. Obviously, it had to. It is now on its way to the Senate. And as we sort of discussed last week, there are several items that we are watching in the budget, and many of them actually stayed at the same dollar amount that they were in the last budget, which is what we were hoping. And Addison, I know that you had kind of talked about the Public Mass Transit Fund last week, and that stayed off of third reading. That was not changed. So after it passed out of committee, it went to the floor. There were a few amendments added, but that did not change. The one thing that we just wanted to touch on really fast within the budget was the fact that the choice funding has been cut by almost $5 million. So I think one of the things that we are trying to express is how important the choice program is. It actually is a program for individuals that are trying to stay in their homes and communities for home and community-based services. These are individuals that are not eligible for Medicaid. And so this really helps them with a sort of a full service option of items that they might need in order to keep them out of facilities. So we are asking the Senate committee, it will go to the Senate Appropriations Committee, And we're just asking them to reinstate that dollar amount, which was almost 49 million from the last budget, to just reinstate it to that amount. So we'll be working on that as things kind of move forward, as well as trying to keep some of the other items that we're following, including the public mass transit fund, at the same funding level as it was in the budget last year. Or sorry, in the previous 2 years. Sorry.
Great. So if viewers out there are watching and they want to reach out to their state senators, what's the message that we're sending about choice and PMTF, I suppose?
Absolutely. We would just ask that they continue to fund the public mass transit fund as it came out of the House, because that's exactly what we would like it to see. And then as
Perfect.
far as the choice funding is, what we would just ask that the choice funding be reinstated to the 2020 levels.
Okay, I know you already touched on that, but I just wanted to end it with that. So
Absolutely.
everyone out there, you know what where we stand. So do with it what you will.
We'd love your help.
Yes, we'll take it. Awesome. Rolling along here, just touching on some of the things that we talked about last time. We did talk about the Senate Enrolled Act 148 and the associated trailer bills. So the SEA 148 is the Zoning and Housing Matters bill that passed last session, but the governor vetoed that bill, and then it went through a veto override. Amber and Madla, both of you have been following this. You want to touch on this a little bit?
Sure. Mandala, do you want to add a little bit to this, and then I'll just give the final votes on that, and then we can kind of play off of each other, because you, as always, are my right hand when it comes to this. So
so I think, just to go back, to Addison's point, so the SEA, so Senate Enrolled Act 148, has made the override process, has passed the override process in both houses. But there are, however, two accompanying bills in the Senate and in the House. So Senate Bill 150 and House Bill 141. Both of those bills eliminate a piece of the language that dealt with how the impact that SEA 148 would have on the tenant-landlord relationship. Essentially, it would change the nature of that relationship. And so the governor's reasoning, or one of the reasons that the governor gave for his veto in 2020, was because he felt that language was detrimental to the relationship from both the tenant and the landlord's perspective. And so there are two of those bills that are going through the process currently. And so if you are inclined to reach out to your House of Representatives and your senators, and just let them know that, although we would like to see some additional amendments added to both of those bills to ensure that there are some protections for tenants. One of which is around the retaliation piece as well. So we want to make sure that piece is addressed, and that folks have a avenue for being able to sort of, when they have an issue, how they bring that up and how they can prevent any sort of retaliation on their behalf, by the way of the landlord. And so our hope is that the both of the legislators that are carrying those bills will hear our friends and us as well, right? The coalition is working to make sure some of those amendments are added. And then a great way too, right, is to share your story. If you're a tenant or if you're a landlord, feel free to share your story to show impact of how having fair and balanced tenant and landlord rights help everybody. So I think I covered the gist of it and kind of where we are. Looking forward to we'll keep you guys updated in terms of what happens next here in the next few weeks. But I know our friends at Prosperity and the Hoosier Housing Needs Coalition are looking for stories and things like that. So, feel free to drop us a comment if you want to share a story or will be willing to share a story about your experience.
So people can go out and look up the Prosperity Indiana Hoosier Housing Needs Coalition, and they can find more information on what action they can take, right?
Yeah. So they will have a couple of action alerts, and how folks can respond. Well, if
Awesome.
Yeah. And I think what we've called for this whole time, and I think Amber and I talked about this even in last season when this was going through, was the opportunity for advocates and our friends at the apartment association have dialogue around these issues and sort of come up with um, Hoosier sensible solutions to the tenant landlord relationship. And I think we want to make sure we have an avenue for doing that.
For sure, for sure. Thanks for touching on that, Manda. I know you had talked about SB 150 and House Bill 1541. Those are called trailer bills. That's what we're referring to them as. Amber, did you just want to briefly talk about like what that term means exactly, and why are these considered trailer bills?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. And the reason why they are referred to as sort of trailer bills is because in order for those 8 words to be removed by the legislature, the veto override had to have happened in both chambers, because then the law would have actually been in code. So you can't remove the language from the trailer bills until the veto override occurred. So that's kind of why we called them trailer bills. So they were trailing behind SEA 148 so that those words could then be removed from Indiana code.
Gotcha. I love just the breakdowns of all the intricacies, so I appreciate that. One thing that Modlin noted a little bit ago, he was like this season. He was referring to this session as this season. I love that the season and session are synonymous. So that's pretty funny. All right, folks. So moving on, one of our other big priorities, especially for rural areas in the state of Indiana, and then even in urban areas too, where quality can fluctuate. We really focus on broadband as a way to make sure that people are connected and that they can get information in efficient manners. So broadband is a huge priority of ours, and I know that there are about 4 broadband bills. I think there's 1 House bill and maybe 3 Senate bills. Amber, do you want to kind of break down what are these bills? Why do we care about them?
Yes. So these, I will dig a little bit deeper into these maybe in a different episode, just because there are so many. And they all sort of, I don't want to say do the same thing, but they are around the same premise, right? Getting access to individuals that don't have it, making sure that the speeds are appropriate and that everyone in the home where they're using internet, that it can sustain all of those uses. As we know, especially during the pandemic, many people are at home, working from home, doing schoolwork from home. Sometimes 2 individuals are working from home while having a number of children that are also doing virtual learning. So that speed can really be important, especially when there's so many things happening in the home right now. So, and then also there are certain pieces that maybe add grant programs to help those communities, get additional funds to sort of build out the infrastructure, and maybe not necessarily overbuild, but trying to use the current infrastructure to get access to individuals. There's also a piece in one of the bills that helps with affordability, which we are really, really excited about, because, the adoption rate, which is actually individuals that choose to purchase internet, can also be affected if individuals can't afford to pay for the internet. So it looks at those items and tries to figure out ways for individuals to have the opportunity to get assistance to have internet if they need it. So again, there's a House Bill 1449, and that passed 92-2. There was Senate Bill 359 that passed 49-0. Senate Bill 352, it passed 47-0, and then Senate Bill 377 that passed 47-0. So as all of these broadband bills are moving through the process, I think what you're going to see is maybe not all of them making it, but maybe them combining these bills into one to really figure out how we want to go about helping Indiana really have better access to internet, to high-speed internet.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that's really important. I'm glad to see that all four of them are moving along, and
Absolutely.
I'm also glad to hear that there's some affordability provisions in there helping people adopt the technology, because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So it's like, if we're going to build it, they might not necessarily go to it and actually adopt it. So that's critical to have some of that, some of those supportive services in there to get people to adopt it.
For sure.
All right. Very cool. I know we are nearing the end of the episode, so time flies when you're having fun. Episode 2 is coming to a close, but we are going to talk about a bill that is progressing, which we're actually not too happy that it is progressing through the process. This is Senate Bill 141. This is the Central Indiana Transit Matters Bill, or transit projects. Madla, you are working really closely with the Transit Drives Indy Coalition on this issue, and Amber, I know you're sitting in on some of those conversations as well. So break it down for us. What happened this week, or the past couple weeks, and where do we go from here?
Yeah, I think a roller coaster ride is probably the best way to sort of describe this week in transit. I think transit advocates who are watching the hearing this I think it was this past week, had an opportunity to sort of see sort of the ups and downs of session, and that sometimes things happen and you think you're getting something the bill sort of to not move any further than out of committee, not to move out of committee. And that's where we were with SB 141, and then we had a senator change their mind, and so they voted for the bill to move out of committee just so that the conversation could be had in the public square. And I think that's a fair assessment to say. It was disappointing and disheartening, to say the least. I think we understand that this legislation puts Indigo's work and future projects in jeopardy. And then more importantly, it changes the nature of what Marion County voters voted for in 2016. And so it changes what Indigo may be able to deliver if it goes through the process. And so it is our understanding that this Senate Bill 141 would have negative impacts on purple and blue line projects, which are both the two additional lines that would make it 3 additional lines, which was part of the Marion County Transit Plan's expansion of transit here in Indianapolis. And so, yeah, the bill has passed out of the Senate, and it's over in the House now. And we haven't seen an update in terms of where it's been sent to yet in terms of committee. But our hope is that all of you who are transit advocates will reach out to your House representatives and ask them to vote no on the Central Indiana Public Transportation Projects bill, mainly because of the impact it has on the ability of Indigo to expand transit in Marion County. And then secondly, the citizens of Marion County did speak and say, this is what we want, right? We want to be able to have the 3 BRT lines and the expanded bus service, expanded hours, and all of those things that come with it. Not only to mention the over however many millions in infrastructure projects that come along with each of those lines being being put in. So we are putting a lot at jeopardy. I think the number is like 170 million or something like that. I could be wrong, but it's a lot, right? It's a big number. And so those are infrastructure projects that the city of Indianapolis, Dan Parker, who is the head of Department of Public Works, is that we would not have those projects in place if these transit projects don't happen. We would not be doing those improvements, and so we're putting that in jeopardy. And so yeah, we want you all to make sure your voice is heard, especially if you live in Indianapolis and in central Indiana, because I think there's an opportunity once this is up and running for us to talk about a regional transportation plan or project piece in the future. So that's where we are. My hope is that we'll get information out to you all how you can engage with your House of Representatives to make sure you all can voice your opinion.
So if this bill goes through and it is passed into law, it can effectively cancel or completely change the way that the Marion County Transit Plan is set to be. So it would nix the purple line and the blue line, right? It would have severe repercussions. So if you voted in 2016 for that on that referendum, you should probably make your voice heard and contact your state representative.
And Addison, just to chime in really fast, because I wanted to make it what Mandela said about roughly 170, because I think it's like a little bit under 200 million, which is what he was saying. 40 million of that is just along Washington Street, that it will affect even the infrastructure improvements when they're implementing that line, that I believe that are planned along the road and sidewalk. And I think it's writing off nearly 13 miles of new or repaved sidewalks and multi-use paths, 18 miles of repaved streets, and 65 new traffic signals would be affected if this bill goes through.
Yeah.
And that's just on Washington Street. That's just one piece of what it is affecting.
Yeah, and I think we can't underscore this, that the transformational change for especially when you talk about the purple line, that there is a opportunity to invest in a part of the city that has often been devoid of that investment. And so this is something that has folks on the far east side or the east side of Indianapolis waiting to see this project come to fruition so that folks can have access to, transit. And so my fear is that we put those folks' community in jeopardy, and folks who have worked hard, quite frankly, to tell Indigo where they think bus stops should be, how they should look, where they want the bus lines to go. If you're from Indianapolis and you've ever taken the 39, you know that that's a heavily trafficked or heavily, used line, and that's the purple line. So if you know the 39 and you know where it goes through, you understand what that purple line would mean for that community. And so, just from an infrastructure perspective, and so I just hope that our that we have an opportunity to just sort of one, obviously prevent the bill from passing, but if it is going to move forward, that we have opportunities to sort of take out some of the issues that would cause pain points for our friends at Indigo.
Right. Yeah, and I was hearing during the hearing on that in the Senate Appropriations Committee that proponents of the bill were saying that we're not talking about the purple line, we're talking about the blue line. But in reality, you're talking about both of those lines and all the associated infrastructure. So you're jeopardizing, as you already mentioned, all that federal funding. So I know that we kind of need to wrap up here, but I do know that with this Senate Bill 141, the Central Indiana Transit Bill, there was also an action alert to not just contact your representative, but also contact the Speaker of the House. Is that right as well? I think that's critically important because he's a Central Indiana legislator. He lives near it, kind of gets it. So it's good to communicate how you feel about that bill to him as well. So I want to hand it over to Amber for any closing comments. Anything you want us to stay tuned for next time?
No, we will just be getting back at it next week. And I did just want to say really fast, I know that we don't have much time for a shout out, but I did want to just give Senator Kadora a shout out for joining our legislative team this past week. And because it was amazing to have him sort of tell us about his background and listen to how his experience has been as a new legislator in the State House right now. So we just wanted to say thank you. I know time is very difficult to manage for all of us right now, and anytime we can get with anyone, we're just very grateful for. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks to him. Thanks everyone for viewing today. We appreciate you joining us. Take care.